Clayton Kershaw looked better. Brusdar Graterol unfortunately got hurt. And Mookie Betts is going to play shortstop and bat second. Is that the right move? Let's get locked on Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, Dodger fans. Welcome to Locked On Dodgers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 local sports daily podcast network. Locked On, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. This is a daily podcast covering the Los Angeles Dodgers, bringing you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue. You can find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube. All you got to do is search for Locked On Dodgers. You can become an everydayer by listening or watching every day, which can be made easier by subscribing and be notified when our episodes are ready or when we're going live, like we are here late Tuesday night. A little bit later than normal just because the Dodger game went a little bit later than normal, and we usually wait for Pete Fox, host of the Locked On Dodgers postcast, to finish his before we get going. If this is your first time listening or watching, welcome. My name is Vince Samperio, usually joined by co-host Jeff Snyder, but Jeff was at the Dodger game and his family lives far from the stadium, so we'll give Jeff a night off. So I'm here. Jeff and I are both lifelong Dodger fans that have covered the team in a few different ways for about a decade now. We've written about the team. We've written about the team. We've talked about the team. We've podcasted about the team here at Locked On Dodgers 5+ years now, and we're here to talk more Dodgers. Unfortunately, not as fun as the game was to talk about last night because the Dodgers did not win on Tuesday night. However, there was one main positive, and that was that Clayton Kershaw looked better than he did in his last start. He didn't get through the 5 innings. He was close, though, and he did generate some swing and miss. He did pick up some strikeouts and overall shut down the Phillies lineup for the most part. He, maybe ran out of gas a little bit there in the 5th inning, and maybe that's why kind of Roberts took him out. He had Schwarber 3-2 and then hung a little bit of a slider up in the zone, and Schwarber was able to get a base hit, and that ended Kershaw's night. But all in all, not too bad for Kershaw. He had 10 swings and misses. Had the slider working, had the curveball working, fastball. Velocity hasn't really been the issue, but he was sitting, more 91 than 89, and he was able to locate a lot better. And that's really what it came down to in terms of why he pitched better. Maybe obviously the fact that the Phillies aren't as hot as the Padres were in his last start, but either way, with Kershaw, it was a slider-heavy night. 38 sliders, 27 fastballs, mixed in the curveball 15 times, which is a pretty good amount, and then did throw one splitter. Threw a splitter to get a strikeout after a little bit of a long at bat where a couple foul balls fouled it off here and there. Initially, I thought it was a changeup, but they called it a splitter, and it says splitter here on Baseball Savant. So that was interesting to see. It wasn't a great splitter, but it was good in that moment because Kershaw had thrown everything, and he couldn't get the swing and miss, couldn't get the guy to hit it fair, couldn't get the out, couldn't get whatever. So he mixed it up. He threw a splitter. It was a little bit out of the zone, but, looked like a good enough pitch to swing at, and he got the swing and miss and got the strikeout. So that was cool to see. But, yeah, obviously the biggest thing from Kershaw is after we talked about how he performed last game and we weren't really sure, is this the new Kershaw? We've never seen him after arm surgery, blah, 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 blah. And he came out and showed us, hey, you know what? I can still get guys out. It may not be as pretty. It may not be as lengthy, but it's enough to get the job done. And I think he did enough for the Dodgers. I wish he would have been able to finish that 5th inning. Maybe the rest of the game would have been a little bit different, a little bit smoother. But regardless, Kershaw pitched into the 5th, and looked better. And Dave Roberts before the game said that we're going to give Kershaw about 5 starts to kind of evaluate him. I don't know if that was meant as 5 starts starting that night or 5 starts total, which would give him 2 more after this game. But regardless, we're going to see Kershaw a few more times out there, and the Dodgers, realistically are probably trying to see if there's any chance for him to pitch in October. Ideal world, you have Glasnow, you have Yamamoto come back, and you have Flaherty as your 3 starters, and then Kershaw could be a number 4 if Stone or Ryan or Robleski or guys don't kind of figure it out on their end, and then that's possible that you see Kershaw in a potential Game 4 situation, but we'll see what happens. But the Kershaw we saw tonight is definitely a guy that can eat some innings and get some outs here. Obviously, he didn't go deep into the game right now, but the Dodgers have been fairly cautious with him since coming back. He hasn't thrown more than 83 pitches in his 3 starts. Obviously, the 83 came in his least effective game, but the Dodgers are still being careful with him, and I think it's the right move considering that he probably would have. This might have been his first start if he went through the full rehab and month and kind of spring training after he had the little setback after his first rehab assignment. So I think it's the right move. It's kind of tough right now because the Dodgers aren't in the best spot with their bullpen, even with, unfortunately, because one of the guys they did get back looks to be gone again. We'll talk about Brusdar Graterol in the second segment, but luckily in this game, Brent Honeywell was able to give the Dodgers length, even though he maybe wasn't as effective as we would have wanted him to be. He did give the Dodgers length and didn't have them use too many arms out of the bullpen. So that's good on that end. But yeah, for Kershaw, just a good performance and something to build on, something to keep going. Hopefully he can continue to get stronger and there's more games like this rather than the games that we saw the last time out. And it might have been a Padres thing. It might have been a Kershaw thing. It might have been a combination of the two. But I think it was very encouraging to see what we saw from Kershaw tonight. And again, this is mostly for the rest of the regular season where it's encouraging. I don't think, we're certainly not expecting or thinking or maybe even wanting Kershaw to be a guy they consider for October. But if he pitches well the rest of the way, and I said it, and it's in a number 4 slot, then yeah, I wouldn't mind that being Clayton Kershaw as your number 4 starter in a potential 7-game series. So we'll see what happens. But, it was good to see what we did get out of him. And, he obviously was a little ticked off at himself for not getting out of that 5th inning. Dave Roberts, I'm sure in the moment he was angry. And then we saw after the inning ended, after Joe Kelly got the out, that, Dave Roberts went over and they looked like he said something to make them both kind of smile and laugh a little bit. So that was good to see. So we will just continue to wait and see. Walker Buehler is supposed to come back after his start in OKC. So, the Dodgers rotation will maybe be a lot of hoping after Glasnow and well, even with Stone here, a little bit hopeful now. So, Glasnow and Flaherty are the 2 stalwarts, and everyone else is kind of figuring out where they fit into this Dodgers rotation and Dodgers playoff picture. So, Brusdar Graterol made his 2024 debut, and it lasted 8 pitches. And then I don't know if we're going to see him again in 2024. We not a fun thing to see, not especially for a guy like Graterol. So we'll get into the injury, what it means for the Dodgers in the immediate sense in terms of the bullpen, and what it means for the Dodgers in the long-term sense of the rest of this season. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. You can get in on the daily action with your friends and become a part of the Prize Picks community today. It's available in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. There is a few days left of the summer games, and Prize Picks could help you turn $10 into $1,000 while watching Team USA rack up the gold medals this summer. Just check out and pick 2 or more players, 2 to 6 players, stat projections, pick more or less on the stat projections, and you're locked in. You can do more than just summer games, though. You can check out baseball. You can check out esports. You can check out, boxing, MMA when those are coming up. You can check out soccer. There's a lot of different things to check out with Prize Picks. So go there, you pick a player, they'll give you a stat projection, you pick more or less, you pick at least 2 of those and up to 6 of those, and boom, you got yourself built out your little lineup. And remember, you can win up to 100 times your cash right now, so you can turn $10 into $1,000. So go check out download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That means any deposit you make up to $100 will get doubled and sent to you in bonus cash. So go check out Prize Picks. Get that first deposit match with the code LOCKEDONMLB. Prize Picks, pick more, pick less. It's that easy. I want to thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day. Make sure to make your second listen of the day our pal Sully with the Locked On MLB podcast. He's here to provide national expertise with his trademark humor to help you get ready for the MLB playoffs here in the dog days of summer. Prepare for the Fall Classic with Sully, who has it all covered every single day on Locked On MLB, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also part of the Locked On Podcast Network is Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles, two 24/7 streaming channels from the Locked On Podcast Network, bringing you the biggest news and stories from the sports world and the LA sports world. You can also check out Locked On Dodgers Postcast with host Pete Fox live after most Dodger games there on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel and in our audio feed. Pete provides a recap of the games and individualized episodes while we kind of look at the bigger picture. So that's what you're getting if you check out Locked On Dodgers Postcast. This is what you're getting if you check out Locked On Dodgers. All right. Unfortunately, it was not a great debut for Brusdar Graterol. It only lasted 8 pitches. His last pitch was, I think, 92 miles an hour, but he pulled up during his delivery. Ball sailed on him a little bit, and then he was hunched over. And at first, it felt like a cramp because, like, if you're hunched over like that, it's either a major injury. But since he didn't crumble to the ground, I thought, okay, maybe it's a cramp. He's trying to stretch it out. But I don't think it was a cramp. And, Brusdar Graterol was very emotional. And then it was a matter of, okay, is he emotional because he worked so hard to get back? And 8 pitches in, it appears that it might be over. Was he emotional because the pain was that great that he thinks something is really wrong? Is it emotional just because, he's a guy that feels emotions, and it was obviously a frustrating time for him. So, and then Kike Hernandez and the trainer had to help him walk off the field, and then he needed help walking into the dugout, into the clubhouse. So it seemed like it could be something serious. The Dodgers called it a strained right hamstring there in the moment, but we'll just have to hopefully, it's one of those things where in the moment it felt a lot worse than when it was, and it was just a combination of a lot of things for Graterol. But obviously it's not ideal for one of the guys the Dodgers. I wouldn't say they were counting on him, but obviously a guy that they were looking forward to getting back. And checking on the updates here, grade 3 hamstring injury for Brusdar Graterol, so complete tear of the muscle. So yeah, he's not coming back the rest of the season realistically, and it's a look forward to 2025 now. But we wish him the best. Graterol's such a fun guy to be around, to see on the field, to see before the game, to see on the mound. He's pitched some big innings for the Dodgers in October in recent years, and you were kind of hoping and expecting that was going to be the case again this year, but unfortunately not. What does it mean for the Dodgers in the short term, and then what does it mean for the Dodgers in the long term? Or in the short term, it appeared that Brent Honeywell was going to get some innings today if the Dodgers were in a predicament where they were maybe losing or the game was a little bit out of hand. He did get those innings, and you would have thought, okay, that it's one of those where he's getting those innings because his time on the roster is probably coming to an end. But now the Dodgers can bring back Michael Grove in place of Brusdar Graterol. They still could potentially make a move and maybe DFA Honeywell just to get an extra arm. I don't know if they're going to do that, especially with the day off on Thursday. Maybe they'll give themselves some time. Honeywell did throw the most pitches he's thrown this season, and give the Dodgers, again, help the Dodgers to where even if there's a short start on Wednesday, the Dodgers still in a good position with their bullpen, but we shall see. But this obviously means Michael Grove is going to join the roster on Wednesday, and be I was hoping that it wasn't going to be in a long relief role, and maybe if Honeywell stays on the roster for a little bit longer, they won't feel the need to have Grove in a multi-inning role. But it appears that that's what they want to maybe use him as. He's obviously had a lot more success this season in the first inning of a game, in the first inning of an outing, rather than when he gets extended past that inning. But we'll see. Ryan Brazier is close to returning. He's looked pretty good in his rehab assignments. That could be another move that the Dodgers make in order, and Honeywell probably is the move there if that's the case. But yeah, for the short term, it's easy because Michael Grove just slots into where Graterol was on the current roster. The long term effect, again, obviously the Dodgers were expecting Graterol to potentially factor into an October pitching staff, because that's the reason you're getting him and trying to get him back, is to see if he can be a guy for you in October like he has been in the past few years. Overall, I don't think it hurts the Dodgers as much as it could have in other years. I do think we talked just on yesterday's episode about how deep the bullpen is at the moment in terms of guys coming back and guys currently on there, where they were going to have to make a decision between, a guy like Honeywell, who had pitched relatively well in his time with the Dodgers, a guy like, Anthony Banda, who's now worked his way up into, high leverage innings. Alex Vesia maybe needing a breather, getting optioned but optioned, or, an IL stint to kind of see why his velocity's down. That's not a clear case right now as to what's going to happen in terms of the bullpen. But for the long term, I don't think, best case scenario, Graterol was going to be your third, fourth, fifth best reliever out of the pen. And that's, being very generous there, because realistically, if everything's going right, like Phillips, Hudson, Trinan should be your top three guys. And then you got, Banda, Vesia in that mix. You got Joe Kelly in that mix. Like, there's a lot of guys to put into that mix. Any other of the young pitchers that they maybe move to a bullpen role, potentially, in that mix. So it hurts in the sense of you feel for Graterol. It hurts in the sense of, it's just one more arm you don't get to see, an arm that's already pitched in October. So a little bit more of a proven presence, even with the lack of strikeouts from him. He, the soft contact hurts you sometimes, but it's a lot better than balls that go over the wall. A little blooper here and there. It hurts when there's runners on base, but if you don't get runners on base, then it's not liable to hurt you as often. So in the long term, I don't think it really hurts the Dodgers in the sense of too much. Now, obviously, it hurts in the sense of one extra arm. So now if like someone else gets hurt, now you go on to the next arm and the next arm, and you're moving lower on the totem pole. But I think in terms of high leverage situations, like I mentioned, Phillips, Trinan, Hudson should be your three guys, assuming they all get back on track after, well, Trinan and Phillips mostly. Hudson's been pretty solid. And then you got Vesia and Banda either fighting for one spot or fighting to both be in there. And then you got, Joe Kelly fighting. You got Ryan Brazier fighting. You got some of these other guys, Michael Grove, some of these other guys kind of fighting for spots in that bullpen. Michael Kopech, who could be, end up being your number one guy by the end of September, getting into October. Like, the way he's thrown so far for the Dodgers has been really, really, really good. So it's a detriment and a hurt for the player, not as much for the Dodgers bullpen. But again, that's not to take anything away from Graterol. It's just a matter of the Dodgers. If anything, the bullpen is a position of depth and strength at the moment. So again, that could change very easily, but and it obviously the bullpen had a bad July, but I do think that was more a case of just a lot of work rather than guys just forgetting or not being good anymore. So all right, there was not much else from the actual game. Andy Paez made a nice play playing right field. Kevin Kiermaier started the game in center field. The Dodgers had a couple chances there to get closer into the game, runners on first and second, but unfortunately, Nick Ahmed and Austin Barnes pinch hit, took at bats, and then Ohtani couldn't get a big hit. Teoscar Hernandez hit another home run. There, not a lot offensively. The Dodgers did get themselves into some chances more so later in the game rather than earlier in the game. But ultimately, it proved to not be enough. And then on the pitching side, like I mentioned, Honeywell did the Dodgers a solid by finishing out that game and giving the Dodgers a chance to let everyone have a breather with one game left before another day off. So, but before the game, we learned what the plan is for Mookie Betts when he returns. Is that the right plan, or are the Dodgers, being more hopeful rather than helpful in the sense of Mookie Betts and his defense? So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by Liquid IV. It's summer. It's been hot, and I'm a guy that loves cold or frozen or anything that can refresh me and make me feel a little bit less hot. And Liquid IV is here to help with that as well, because you need to hydrate and you can't forget to hydrate. And Liquid IV has the popsicle firecracker flavor, which reminds you of your favorite summer treat as a kid. It's a surefire summer hit, and it gets you hydrated with electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients from the #1 powdered hydration brand in America. Baseball and summer go together like Liquid IV and indulgent hydration. Liquid IV is perfect for the summer because it is a time of hydration where you need to drink a lot of fluids. And if you can turn your water into something packed with electrolytes and vitamins and nutrients and everything else, that's what you need in your life, because it's powered by LIV Hydroscience, an optimized ratio of electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients that turn ordinary water into extraordinary hydration. 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink, 8 essential vitamins and nutrients, and then always non-GMO, vegan, gluten-free, and dairy-free, and soy-free. So tear, pour, live more. 1 stick and 16 ounces of water hydrates better than water alone. And they don't just have the one popsicle firecracker flavor, which is one flavor you could really use every day and not get tired of it. But you can get acai berry, lemon lime, pina colada. Find all your favorite flavors on their website and check out liquidiv.com. No more thirsty summers when you indulge in hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use code MLB at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code MLB at liquidiv.com. Want to thank you for being an everydayer. If you are one, an everydayer is just someone that listens or watches every day. You can, if you're not ready to commit to that, you can become on the road to an everydayer by adding at least 1 episode a week to your listening plans or playlists or whatever it is. We're here for you every Monday through Friday for about 30 minutes. Most of the time we're going after Dodger games live these days. But if you can't stick around with us late night on live, you can make sure to make us your first listen in the morning. So make sure to find us where we get podcasts and on YouTube. And also you can go beyond the podcast, come a Locked On Dodgers Insider at joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. It is a text message based service, costs a few bucks a month, and you get text directly from us with any news, rumors, thoughts, things of that nature. And you can also sometimes get some exclusive content from Dodger Stadium and different areas where the Dodgers are at. So make sure to go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers to become a Locked On Dodgers Insider. And let's talk about what we learned before the game with the Dodgers, and that's that Mookie Betts, when he returns, will be the shortstop and will play second base. Not play second base. We'll be the shortstop and we'll bat second. I don't know if any of those are that surprising to me. Maybe a little bit surprising to others if you were expecting something different. But, realistically, with the Dodgers not acquiring a top flight shortstop at the deadline, with Gavin Lux solidifying himself a little bit here with the nice stretch that he's on in terms of hitting. At the very least, Mookie Betts was going to start and come back at shortstop. Now, they could have put him in the outfield, whether, center field, right field. But I do think, if you put Mookie in right field, you're either going to have to put Potheads in center and not have that strong defensive center field, or or lately Pajes or Kiermaier in center, and then you lose a bat, which means you also have Miguel Rojas realistically at shortstop. And, as much as Rojas has been good this season, it's not something you can count on to him being a guy that can contribute offensively. So then you're weakening yourself in two spots potentially offensively in order to get one spot solidified in the outfield, where realistically, if you play Mookie at shortstop, yeah, you might take a hit, or realistically, you take a little bit of a hit defensively at shortstop, but you have Mookie in the lineup, you have Gavin Lux in the lineup, you have, the potential for, even if you have Kiermaier out there in center, that's just the one spot. Well, when he comes back, Kiermaier out there in center, that's just one spot that really realistically need a lot of offensive help from. Andy Pajes has gotten a couple hits this series. We'll see if that does anything for him offensively. But, we talked about yesterday, like some of these guys have to get it going, or they might not find themselves on the roster once guys get healthy. And then once Tommy Edman returns, like you can slot him into center field. And now you have a lineup 1 through 9 that should give you above average offense. Gavin Lux, I believe, is now at league average second base, but ascending. So, could pass that for his career. Tommy Edman's been league average offensively for the most part. Right field is where, Pajes, Hayward, or Rosario, like there's different ways to go about to try and get that offensively. There's different, see which guy sticks and which guy hits. And realistically at this point, like if you're a guy that's on the fringe for the Dodgers, if you're hitting, you're in the lineup. And I think that's the big thing to go about it. And for Mookie coming back, playing shortstop, again, it was not smooth sailing there defensively before the injury. Obviously taking a few weeks off. We don't know. I mean, he was still fielding ground balls a lot of that time and been able to handle that, especially since it wasn't his glove, or since it was his glove hand. But we'll see. Realistically, if they put him back at shortstop and the defense just doesn't improve, and we're heading into September, middle September, late September, I think the Dodgers have to decide what they want. Do they want to potentially take the chance on offense going down by moving Mookie somewhere else, or do they take the chance on maybe defense at a premium position not being above average, but you're getting all-star level production from shortstop on offense? It's one of those things that we just don't know what it's going to look like. Maybe this move or this time off, while unfortunate, maybe is a little bit of a mental reset. Maybe Mookie comes in knowing, hey, you know what, I already played shortstop. I know I can play the position. Now let me get a little bit better. And as much as he didn't want to admit it, like in some of the comments that he made, it did seem like, maybe it was wearing on him just a little bit. And maybe this is a break that was kind of needed, and he can come in and figure out, okay, let me attack this way. I've been, watching Rojas, watching Nick Ahmed, watching, different guys play shortstop. I think I know what I need to do, and hopefully he can be better offensively. Because if Mookie can, be solid defensively, which he was here and there, but, obviously there were still some growing pains. Like if he can be solid defensively, like it just opens up the Dodgers lineup so much more for potential of having really, really good or two above average guys at every spot in the lineup. So we shall see. I do think it's the right move to bring him back to shortstop right now and just see. And if it doesn't work out, then, you put Rojas back at shortstop. You figure out what you do with Mookie, whether it's right field or if, Flex, unfortunately, doesn't keep hitting, then, Mookie moves to second, whatever the case is. But it's all going to be contingent on who's hitting and going from there. Now, in terms of batting second in the lineup, when Ohtani that first week or two after moving to lead off, we had the conversation of, does he stay there? And we weren't entirely sold on keeping Ohtani there, but we were open to the idea of like, yeah, realistically, Ohtani, he looked comfortable. And, he's a streaky hitter by nature. He had some streaks when he was in the number 2 spot. So it wasn't like anything groundbreaking, but he really changes the game up there. Mookie was like that last year and could be like that again this year. But, in the moment right now where they're at, like leaving Ohtani where he's at and splitting up the lefties, like Ohtani, Mookie, Freddie being your top 3, Like it just gives you a little bit of chance. Like if you do want to throw a lefty in this mix, well, he's going to have to face Mookie Betts, and that might not be beneficial for the pitcher on the mound. So I'm fine with the move. Mookie is always going to say whatever's best for the team. They asked him about that in terms of where he's going to play defensively or where he'd want to play, and he said whatever's best for the team. And if you ask him about where he bats in lineup, he's going to say whatever's best for the team. Obviously, he's been the Dodgers leadoff guy for the most part since he's come over, and obviously he's been a guy in that spot for a lot of time of his career, but he's not a guy that's going to grumble or cause any disruptions or anything based on going from 1 to 2, especially when number 1 is Shohei Ohtani. So I think for the lineup, I like it. When Mookie first comes back, it's also a matter of letting him ease into it. Like if you're getting right back into it and then being the leadoff hitter, he's not going to have a rehab assignment. He's going to hit in some sim games or in the cage or whatever it is up until that point. Like it's not the easiest thing to do, but when you have maybe a little bit of pressure off, or Ohtani on base, and you're going to get better pitches, maybe more Ohtani on base, Freddie behind you, like you're going to get more pitches in the zone. You're going to get more fastballs. You're going to get, better. It's going to be a lot easier to transition back into batting every day if the ability or the chance of Ohtani being on base and Freddie hitting behind you is what you're getting, because you're going to see a lot more fastballs and a lot more pitches in the zone because they're not trying to put 2 runners on. They're not trying to let Ohtani steal bases. And, that's going to work out in your benefit. So I'm completely fine with it. As of lately, expected it. And I think it's overall better for the Dodgers right now. So obviously a lot of this stuff's all going to be contingent on what goes on. I think the greater conversation, and we'll probably have this on the off day on Thursday, is Will Smith and his spot in the lineup and, that type of conversation, because he continues to struggle. Teoscar Hernandez has been hitting well. The home run derby didn't ruin his swing, and you could very much easily see a lineup of Ohtani, Mookie, Freddie, Teo, and then when Muncy comes back, Will Smith in the 6th spot, him and Teo kind of flipping positions. That even if Smith continues to struggle, that's still a formidable lineup because he can break out at any moment, and I think. Some people kind of mention the fact of the catcher and kind of breaking down, and he's had second half struggles a lot. Sometimes it's been due to injury. Sometimes it hasn't been. This year, we don't know of any injury, but last year we didn't really know of any injury. And then we kind of find out that he was battling with something, most of the season. So again, I think getting everyone back also helps you make that move to get Will Smith down in the order, whatever it is, maybe he figures it out. And then you're looking real good. Like if Will Smith is your number 6 hitter, and if Gavin Lux keeps hitting like he's hitting, and then you got Tommy Edman coming back, and then you got whoever's playing right field, like that's a solid 1 through 9 that no pitcher will want to face in October. So, all right, that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day. Make sure to find us where we get podcasts and on YouTube. Make sure to be coming every day or by listening or watching every day. You can find us most nights after the Locked On Dodgers postcast, hosted by Pete Fox, after the games, or sometimes we don't go live and you can catch us in the morning. Either way, we're here for you wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Subscribe and you'll get notified if we do go live or if episodes are ready. Remember, you can check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles, 2 24/7 streaming channels from the Locked On Podcast Network, bringing you the biggest news and stories from the sports world and the LA sports world. Live on YouTube 24/7. Locked On Dodgers Postcast will host Pete Fox is on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel live after most Dodger games. You can check out Locked On MLB with our pal Sully. Prepare for the Fall Classic because Sully has it covered every single day. You can find the link to Locked On MLB in the description, so you don't need to search. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You can you can go beyond the podcast, become a Locked On Dodgers insider at joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Locked On Dodgers. Those channels are now active and getting posted to daily. So make sure to go follow and check out Jeff on Twitter at Snydog. I'm at Vincent's91. You can DM us with any questions or comments. You can also send those via email, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or via voicemail text at 323-863-5625. We're here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us. When you get in your car, if you're at home, take your smart device, play a podcast, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.